This is a tutorial for Downforce, a game on Board Game Arena. This is a racing slash betting game where there are 6 cars that are going around a track, and you are trying to both get your cars to the end, but if in first place, so the higher you place, the more money you win from it. But also, if you don't win, you can bet on the other cars and perhaps still win even if your cars don't win by making good bets on the other cars. The game goes in 2 main phases. There's the auction phase where all 6 cars are auctioned off among the players, and you usually will end up with 1 or 2 cars in your hand as your cars. You'll end up with an ability as well, and then you'll have a whole hand of cards where these, basically when you play one of these cards, you go from top to bottom and move the cars in that number of spaces in that order. So for instance, this one here, I would move the orange card, car 6, then the green car 4, then the blue car 2. There's some things about movement but that we can get into later, but that's the basic idea. And these ones that are gray are wild, and you can move any card with that. You just can't move a car that's already on that. For in this case, I couldn't move green with that 5, and in this case I would have to move 2 different colored cars. Before we get to the actual race, let's get to the auction. So everybody starts off with this hand of cards, and these are also your auction cards as well. And these say how much will you pay for a specific car. And so let's say the red car is up for auction. So each car is going to come up. So all 6 cards are going to come up. The car will come up, and a power that will be associated with that card will also come up. And you then play one of your cards, and the number of red that you play is how much you're willing to spend for that if you win that auction. So if I played this one, I would spend 5 million. This one I would spend 2 million. This one 1 million. You can't use the wild cards unless you don't have any other red card ability to do that, which shouldn't happen very often. You can pass and just not bid on it, and there may be a reason to do that. We'll see that in a minute. But if you, it's a blind auction, so everybody puts down their card and then they're flipped over, and whoever has the most in that color wins that car and pays that amount of money, and they'll go into the negative for that money. If it's tied, then whoever has the most lines on the card they played will get the will get the car. If it's the same number of lines, then it's whoever doesn't have the wild on it will get the card. Also, when you win that car, you also get an 8 value of that color as well, so you get a little bit of a boost on there. So, you're looking at these cards, you're looking at the cards that you have and your ability to make those cards move. I didn't want to bid on the red car because I didn't have very good red cards to do it. I have some decent wild ones, but mostly I'm looking at, I've got good blacks, I've got good oranges and greens, so maybe I'll try those instead. So I ended up playing, for this first one, I ended up putting a pretty low one, because if you get a card cheap, if you get a card for only 1 million, the chances of it getting higher than last place will be profitable for you. You should know that there are cases where you wouldn't be able to bid for an auction. So you can have more than one car, but if it's kind of weird how it does this, but if there are if there are less or equal number of cars left than people who don't have a car, then you have to bow out if you have a car. So best would say, like an example, there's 6 cars or 3 players. Let's say I just go all out and I win the first 4 cars and they're all mine. Well, that means there's 2 cars left and there's 2 people without a car. That means I would not be able to bid anymore. So one of them would bid, they would probably win it, and then there'd be 1 person left and 1 car left. They would be the only one that would be able to bid on that last car because they don't have any cars. That's just how it makes sure that you have a chance at least to get at least 1 car. Every player does. But you may not end up having a car. There's a weird situation where you just continue to pass and you don't end up having cars, which is fine. You can still win that way. You just have to do really good at your betting. All right, so in this case, I bid this one. I thought, if I can get it for 2, sure. But they bid 4, and so see this player here got the red car is theirs, and they got minus $4 million. And now we're up to the blue one. Same idea. I didn't think I had very good blue cards, so I didn't do that here. But I did tie. I almost got the blue one, but they had more lines on theirs, so they got it. And by the way, when you play a card for bid, you get that card back, so you can continue to use it, the same card over and over. I thought, ooh, black. I've got some good black cards. I'll use my 6 for the black. Turned out to be a bad idea because I ended up spending a lot of money on the black. But I thought, hey, I've got 2 6 blacks. I've got, yeah, I'm gonna invest in this card. So notice there's only 2 people. They only bid 2 for it, and this person just passed on it. And now at this point, what's kind of weird is this player just starts passing. Well, not on this one, but they just start bidding really low. So I ended up bidding real low on the orange one and ended up winning it, so that wasn't too bad. In this case, nobody bid on it, on this one. Everybody passed on the yellow. So then it went back to the... So basically what happens is it goes and kind of set to the side, and we'll rebid at the very end if nobody bids on something. This one is green. Notice it's got a little 1 there, which means the owner of this card plays first. So that could be, that could affect things. I ended up bidding on that one and winning it. You see, he keeps bidding really low. He wants to get a real cheap card there. And eventually, he was the only one that didn't have a car. And so there was 1 left, only the yellow one left, and he was the only one that was able to bid on it. So all he did was bid his lowest yellow and was able to get it. So that was a smart strategy. He's only spent 1 for his car. He spent 6, and I spent 12. And I got 3 cars, so if I can get them, if I can get them in high places, then I might be good. But yeah, it didn't end up working that way. So, like I said before, each card comes with, when you win a car, you get an 8 speed for that color. This is a card you can play to make that individual car just go super far. And each of them came with a power, but you could only pick one of those powers. So I ended up picking aggressive, which says if I play a card and my car is the one on the top, then I get to go 1 extra. There's 6, I think just 6 different powers. And like this one, instead of going from top to bottom, you go from bottom to top if you want, which could help you like block certain other cars and so forth. All right, so everybody has their cars, has paid their money, has their 8 speeds, and picks their power that they use. Then we start going in order, and we each play a card. And when we play a card, we move those different cars. Even if they're not cars that we own, we still get to move them. Okay, a couple of things about movement. You can only move forward on the track. So I could take this green card and move him here, 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 but I couldn't move him sideways, so I couldn't go from here to here because that front line is the same. I also couldn't go from here to here because it's not touching there. You see, it has to be at least touching something that's ahead of it. If there are cars blocking, so let's say there was a car here and a car here, I could not get past them. I would just get stuck. I could go as far as I can, and then I would get stuck. So you can block cars. And then each track is going to have a few different variations. There's 6 different tracks. There's a couple basic ones, and then a few from expansions that have some interesting pieces on it, some obstacles and such. This one has these kind of dangerous road areas where let's say you were here and another car was here, you could use those to pass. So you can, like you see that corner is touching, you can go on the corner. But with these roads, you can't stop on them, so you would have to have enough to get all the way ahead of it. So you can use these to pass, but they also take more, right? This is 2 spots instead of 1. So that's what this kind of the unique feature of this track does. I'll show a couple more tracks in a bit, but that's what this one does. You can also see these yellow lines. As soon as a car passes that yellow line, you bet on which car you think is going to win the race. And I don't know if it shows it here. All right, I'm going to find a little chart here to show you how that betting works. Okay, so in the physical game, each person would have a piece of paper that they would write on, and these are the different bets that you can make. And you pick one car, so let's say I think the green car is going to win, and you would check that, and then if that car gets first place, you get 9 million, second place 6, third place 3 million. And then there's 3 bets throughout the game that again are associated as soon as one car crosses these yellow lines. Then you make a bet, then you make another bet, and then you make a final bet. Obviously, as you get towards the end, you have a better sense of who's going to make it, so those bets don't pay out as well as if you make a correct bet towards the beginning. And after you play your card, you don't get that card back, and then it continues to go. And you play through this game until every car has crossed the finish line. If all of your cars have crossed, then you don't have to go anymore. It goes between the other 2 players. If for some reason you run out of cards and you can't get your cars across the finish line, they don't finish and they get 0 payout. Also, by the way, on that sheet, it shows the payouts at the end here. So first place gets 12, 9, 6, 4, 2. So you can see it's not huge numbers. You're talking about 10s or 20s of the points for like at the end of the game. So that you need to, that auction price can make a big difference. My negative 12 was probably way too much to spend to make that back. I did end up positive, but I probably shouldn't have spent so much. All right, so let's look at a couple of turns. So like for instance, I played this card, has my power in it where I own the green one, and so my 6 I get to pick where I go, and then I get to go 1 extra because of my power, or I don't have to. I don't want to if I'm trying to block someone. I go 1 extra. Then the yellow goes. I pick where that goes, and then the 2. If there's no like choices on where you can go, it'll just make the move for you here in BGA. It'll also show like if you get blocked, and yeah, continue to go through that. So the next person plays a card, they play their 5. So that person played the yellow to see that they were able to pass them through that difficult terrain. Now this area is blocked. If anything tried to get past it, they would get stopped first. But again, remember you go in order, so maybe those get cleared out before they would get blocked. And you just continue to go through the game, and each person plays cards. Remember, you have your 8s. You may want to save that when you know you've got a good stretch, or you need to get some distance, or you need to catch up. Those are good ones to play because it's only your car that goes that 8. And that can be helpful. One person had a card. Yeah, this one really hurt me. If you play a speed card with all 6 colors on it, you can ignore 1 color of it. They ended up ignoring, I think, my green card, which was towards the front, and was able to really, mess me up there. So, there's another one, right? So they played that 6, and it could only move just 1 because it was blocked there. So when you play your cards, you are simultaneously trying to get your cards ahead, but also setting things up to block other people's. Like if you have a high card for somebody else, maybe you play that when it hurts them instead of when it doesn't. Although did I play that card? I might have messed myself up there. Oh wait, no. That came from all the way back, and he was able to catch up with the extra movement. That's why it was 1. So that's the game. I'm going to skip forward just a little bit. Well, let's. Oh, and yeah, I had a wild here, so I got to pick which card to move. Let me just show what happens when somebody crosses the yellow line. After they finish the car, now you bet on which one you think. Okay, so you could be blue, but maybe, I think I bet green there. I didn't make very good bets. So I will skip towards the end, just to kind of show you what that looks like at the end. Okay, here's towards the end of the game. You can see we've got 3 people who passed the finish line already. Only one of them is mine in 3rd place, and my other 2 are not doing super hot. I think I ended up getting 1 ahead of them, but yeah, I got pretty smoked in this race. I bet big on black and orange, and they both got in the last place. So I ended up barely making over the. But you can see now, like, everybody except me is going, so I just keep playing cards, and these are the cards I have left. I can still make it through with these cards, but there would be a chance that I didn't, and then anything that doesn't finish gets 0 money. So I was able to get the orange car across the race. Well, the black car they just let go to 6th place at the end. So you can see here at the end, this is how much money people spent on cars. The first bet, second bet, and the third bet. I didn't do so hot on getting on those bets. I did get some money on every bet, so I didn't completely miss, but I didn't do nearly as well. So, for example, this person who only had 1 car was able to still almost win based on just getting those bets. But because this one had both good bets and they had the blue winning car, they were able to win that out. All right, that's the game. Let me show you just a couple other courses and what's interesting about them, and then you should have a good sense of the game. Here is a very standard course, lots of room. Again, you always do 6 cars, but there's no real obstacles or weird things about this one. I think this is the very basic one. This one is interesting because it has ramps. So you can see these cars here have ramps with numbers on them. If you land on a ramp and your speed, like the number that got you to that ramp, is at or above that number, you can go to this next space. But you can't land on that. You have to have at least 1 more movement, and this has to be empty as well. So if you time it right, you can jump from like here to here, or here to here, or in some cases you have to make a jump on these ramps. So that one's kind of the difference in this board, in this track. And this one is a bit interesting because it has animals that are kind of just wandering across the track, and I think at certain, so these 3 animals are basically blockers, and then as soon as somebody passes these lines that are next to the animals, they jump to the next one. So I believe you can see the track. This one goes up to here, and then it goes over to here, and then down to here, and down. So these are just going to be obstacles all along the way, and they keep moving in front of you. So that makes things a little bit interesting. Here's one of the standard boards. Again, no obstacles, but it's a little thinner than that first standard board. So more opportunities to block. You've got some thin spots like there. And then finally there is this board that has these kind of loops in. And when you go in a loop, you don't get to cut. You get to go through the loop and all the way back. And again, there's going to be lots of blocking opportunities through those different loops. All right, those are the 6 different boards that you might see during your games on BGA. If the random board option is checked, or you can select which board you want. There are also some other powers that you can include from the expansions, and yeah, and then bet on the cars and see who wins. All right, hope this is helpful.